All right, folks, back here with another little update. I'll try to keep this one fairly brief. I tend to ramble on here, so I apologize if I'm doing that. Um, Last week, I sent out individual messages to every student who is yet to complete the first assignment within our Schoology course here. I've had a decent number of students that have responded to that. However, I'm still missing a lot. So, um, again, if you could hopefully maybe give a little nudge there to get started, that would be great. In a couple weeks here, what I tend to do is I'll start to enter zeros in the grade book for a multitude of reasons. But number one, hopefully to motivate those students to get the work done. And secondarily, it's the grade that they've earned. So, again, students can complete this throughout the whole marking period. However, if they start to fall behind, it gets a little bit more challenging. So if you could check and see, I have updated grades to PowerSchool recently. I'll probably do it again at some point today. If you see no grades at all, that means they haven't done anything. All right. So hopefully you see some grades there, and hopefully we're progressing through the course. Last time I talked to you a little bit about this Module 1 becoming a driver, which again was all about getting your permit, license, etc. The second module is one that, to me, is kind of an interesting one, and there's no easy way about it. There's just a lot of memorization that kind of has to take place here. So uh, let's start with signs. All right, signs are broken down into three general categories. Three. There we go. We have what we call guide signs or location signs, regulatory signs, and then warning signs. So a warning sign is a pretty easy one. If you can picture the yellow diamond shaped, all of those are warning signs. Some of the like road curving and stuff like that, what we call chevrons, things of that nature, those are all warning signs. So yellow signs, yellow background. Regulatory signs tell you what you can and cannot do. So a stop sign, believe it or not, tells you have to stop unless you're allowed to go make a right turn, which is only on several stop signs. A speed limit sign is an example of a regulatory sign. It tells you how fast you can travel under good conditions. All right, so right turning lane, left turning lanes are predominantly white background, black background, or red background signs. Right, those are regulatory signs. The guide or location signs, they're kind of directing you, giving directions. So if you picture on an interstate those big green signs, right, telling you where the exits are, that's a guide sign. The blue sign telling you what services are ahead. Right, if you're traveling near Pincho Park, those brown signs, lovely brown signs, those tell you that destinations are ahead. So those are the three categories. And the reason we break that down is if I'm driving and I'm looking for something specific, right, I'm looking for exit 2. I know I'm going to be looking for that green sign. Right. If I really want to, I could break it down by shape as well. I know I'm looking for a rectangular shaped sign, whatever it might be. If I need to see a speed limit sign, I know it's going to be that vertical rectangle. All right, so I can look ahead and I can kind of get my attention into that area. So these are things that I think, again, as experienced drivers, we tend to take for granted. But as a new driver, you're trying to take all of this information in, and it can be a little bit challenging. So one of the things I always recommend or suggest is that even if your son or daughter doesn't have their permit or isn't even close to driving yet, as you're going down the road, quiz them a little bit. Hey, what do you think this sign means? What's this sign mean? Right? Or, something of that nature, just to get them kind of thinking a little bit about what's going on during the driving process. So for this module, a lot of Edpuzzle videos in this one. I'm not a huge Edpuzzle fan, but again, just because of the kind of material covered here, it makes it a little bit easier. So we just have an introduction here, talk a little bit about the different signs, and then we get into traffic signals. Most people are pretty comfortable with a red, green, yellow. Right? Yellow, by the way, does not mean floor it. It just means that you can continue through the intersection if you've already started there, if you can't safely come to a stop. One of the newer ones that some people are a little bit unfamiliar with, they're starting to be more popular, is a flashing yellow left arrow. And it's treated the same way as just a green, use caution when turning left. All right, make sure there's no oncoming traffic. It's used the same way. We're just seeing that more nowadays. Instead of just the green light, they're doing that flashing yellow arrow. Lane markings are kind of interesting. Again, most students are pretty good with these, but there's some things they should know. Number one, knowing the difference between a white line separating lanes of traffic and yellow. And a lot of even experienced drivers don't think much about this, but if there's a white a white line separating lanes of traffic, it means you're on a one-way road. If there's yellow, it means there's two-way, right? Traffic can be coming in an oncoming direction. And then knowing the difference between solid and broken lines. Even in a white one-way, if it's a solid line, you're not supposed to be crossing over that. And that's something I see people do incorrectly all the time. Yellow solid line, obviously you shouldn't be passing anyone unless they're pulled off on the side of the road or something unusual circumstance. If it's a broken line, dotted, dash, whatever you want to call it, then passing is allowed if possible. If it's a yellow broken, we need to be aware of oncoming traffic. Then we have like a center turning lane and some other kind of special circumstances, an HOV lane. And those are all a little bit different. It talks a little bit about that in these lane markings. This one here, this slideshow test your knowledge, is just a little quiz that students can take. This is another one of these kind of information all about traffic signals or more information. Same with this roadway markings. At the end, there is a quiz. It's 15 questions. Students need to answer 12 correctly. Again, this is one of those that memorization is really, really an important one. I think sometimes it's a little bit daunting of a task when you say, oh, memorize 300 signs, but really we can break them down and they're not too complex. If you have any questions, let me know. I'll probably be back in a week or so again, and we'll go over Module 3, which in my opinion is the most important part of driving, where we talk about the decision-making process, all right, using our brain to make sure that we're making good decisions. If you have questions, as always, please message me. I hope to see a lot more work in the future. Again, if you could give a little push to make sure work's being done, I'd greatly appreciate it. Have a good week. See ya.